Hey everyone, I'm coming from my garage. I just had some time, so I thought I'd do a quick video of my experience with the 2022 Honda Civic. This is a Sport Touring, and my Honda CR-V. This is my the CR-V LX. But obviously I did a few upgrades to it. So yeah, no, I really do like these two cars. I came from a few cars that one ran out on the lease. It was a Mini and I didn't want to keep it just in case of service costs and things like that, and an older Honda or Acura RDX. So the RDX was replaced by this CR-V. The RDX ended up having a fair bit of things to get fixed, and I just didn't really want to spend the money. So it was about 10 years old, and we traded it into the dealership. And back in 2022, they were giving very, very good trade-in, so that worked out for me and the family, and I got a good rate on the finance on this car too. So yeah, no, I mean, for the most part, everything is really good with it. The first year of ownership was great, although I will say there was especially on this car, on this the Civic, we had a lot of fuel oil dilution, and I know that Honda says that is, it's been fixed with updates and software updates and whatnot, but really it hasn't been fixed. The problem is inherent with the new GDI Turbo design. So when Honda says that is because it's too fuel efficient, or too efficient of a design, they're telling the truth actually, because this engine is very efficient, I would admit, fuel efficiency and power is very good. I have no complaints in those departments. I get, like the good 30 mile per gallon range, which is very good. I'm just gonna quickly show you guys my oil status right now, just for a quick reference while I talk. And just share with you some of my experience with possible few fixes. I've done a lot of research on the internet, on the Civic forums and whatnot, and learned a lot of different things about this engine, and what some of the other YouTubers and owners of this engine has found. So here I am. I'm just above the full mark. Maybe, let's see, that's probably like a 1/4 of an inch above. But the car has been sitting for a while, so that's going to be expected. And that's not bad. And with the smell, right now it doesn't smell like gas. But a month and a half ago it did. Really bad actually. So I would check my oil, and the oil that you wipe off actually really did smell like gas. And it's a bit of a pungent smell as well. there's like this chemical smell too, and maybe it's just a reaction between the, you know, detergents and whatnot and gas, and they gave you that chemical smell. But as you can see now, I've changed the oil with Honda. I actually made them change my oil, just flush and well, not flush, but just drain and fill, and without the oil filter change, because it only had about 1,000 kilometers on there, and then it was overfill. Like it was way above the orange, the dipstick, and it smelled like gas. So now it's been, I think we have about 22,000 kilometers on the Civic, and about 25,000 on the CRV, and we've changed a number of things with how we drive these two cars, and I just wanted to share the information with everyone, because it has been helping. So with the CRV, the fuel dilution hasn't gotten worse either. So we have about on this oil we have probably about 1,000 to 2,000 kilometers on it now, and so far so good. It has been, like, tentatively has been fixed, because previously I would get fuel dilution right away after just a few hundred kilometers, like maybe a tank, or maybe a tank or a tank and a half. After that, you can smell gas in the oil, and there was for sure something not quite right with both the smell and the amount of oil and the or amount of fuel smell and amount of oil is way over-fill. This one seems a little bit dirtier, and I'll tell you guys a little bit more of what I think why the oil is a little bit dirtier. So nice and clean, and then I'm going to check it in a second. Just sniffing it, and it doesn't smell like fuel, or doesn't smell like gas right now. So the car's been sitting a little while though, and you can see that it's just right above the full, which is good, because like I said, it's been sitting for probably a few hours since the last time I drove it. So that's about right. Just about above the line, because the longer you leave it, then of course the oil will drain all the way down, and it should be over the full line, right? What I've been told by mechanics is how to check the oil would be to warm it up. They drive around, whatever it may be, you know, for however long, as long as your car is all the way up to temperature, and then turn it off and let the oil settle for maybe 5 minutes, and then you can check it, and it should be at the full line, and that should be fine. If you let it sit for longer, then it's gonna show a higher mark. But anyways, yeah. So the oil looks a little bit dirtier, and I believe it's because of the fuel additives that I put into this car. Just to overview some of the things that we've been doing is, number one, we have turned off our auto stop start. So if you go into this car, you know, there's that little sign there. It says, please turn off auto stop start. Okay. So we really have to remind ourselves. Same thing with the Civic. We have the same thing right in here. Please turn off auto stop start. Even I have to be reminded of that whenever I go in to start driving, because simply it's just one of those things that I forget to do. And then with that note, it reminds you. I know it sounds silly, but it does certainly help. So that's one tip. And the other tip is we have been purchasing Mobil 1 gas, Mobil 1, or not, sorry, not Mobil 1, but just Mobil gas station. I think Mobil and Exxon Mobil, so the same company. Esso, we have Esso and Mobil gas stations here, and we've been buying the 91 octane or the 93 octane gas, so Supreme or Supreme Plus. We previously have purchased 87 or 89, so mid-grade or regular. And yeah, on some of the fellow YouTubers, they've learned that higher octane gas is able to help with the fuel dilution. So I was skeptical, but then, you know, after a little bit of research and how these engines are designed, and, you know, tolerances and a number of things point to probably running high octane gas would be the best for these engines. This engine, this 1.5 turbo, as you guys know, are in the CRVs, in the Civics, and the Accords. Those three car platforms and the Accords and the CRVs have been getting a lot of blown head gaskets. And when you get that, what it means is that the coolant can seep into the combustion chamber, and that's not good, obviously. And that's caused by engine knock, so pre-detonation, which is the air-fuel mixture in your combustion chamber detonating before it's supposed to detonate. Detonation usually happens when the spark plug sparks, and that's when you get detonation. But pre-detonation means that for one reason or another, the air-fuel mixture is exploding before the piston goes up to the top. So as the piston goes up, the piston is still going in the upward motion, and then it explodes. The gas explodes and pushes it down while the piston's still going up, and it causes your engine knock. The idea behind that is if you have higher fuel octane gas, you will have more detergents and whatnot or additives in the more octane in the fuel, so that it prevents that pre-detonation from happening. And if it happens enough, then it'll blow your gaskets. So long story short is that it's probably safer to run high octane gas on these engines if you're planning to keep the car for, you know, past the warranty period. And I will tell you that dealing with Honda with this fuel dilution issue, they will claim that, service will claim that, you know, it's normal. And then a little bit of gas smell in your oil is normal. And then a little bit of blow-by and fuel dilution is normal. And they're right. They are right. That is normal on these GDI engines with turbo. But then the issue is that it'll cause premature wear and tear on the engine components, bearings and gaskets and piston rings, and basically it's gonna just cause premature wear. That means that you're not gonna have the longevity that Honda, we all bought Honda, for, right, which is bulletproof reliability. And slowly I found out that Honda is not the same as they were. Let's say back in the days I had my Integra GSR, back in the day that I had my motorcycles, the 2000s, and Civic, back in the Civic SI days, and those I guess those are like late 90s. Those cars, I mean, they just go and go and go. The VTEC system was awesome, but these engines here, I think I know and understand why the car industry has, chased that high, fuel economy, high efficiency, high, average miles per gallon for their corporate, answer to, I guess, the government standards and whatnot, CAFE standards. And they've chased it, and they have pushed these engines so far, and they have sacrificed longevity. I think, I'm not too sure if I mentioned, but the auto stop start is going to be one thing, and the next thing is high fuel octane gas. So the auto stop start, that mechanism, we switch it off religiously now. And the reason why is because the auto stop start system may be contributing to the fuel dilution. As you know, when you stop your engine, it could be in mid-stroke. Who knows where it sort of lands, right? You got 4 cylinders, so mid-stroke, and basically the fuel injectors stop, and then you get it to start again. And basically, if you get stop start over and over again, it'll wear your starter for sure. It'll wear your battery for sure. And I know that they say that they have beefed up the design of the battery and beefed up the design of the starter motor, but I just don't buy it. That even I hear stories about some pilots and Honda Civics need replacement starters, or for that matter weak batteries, weak voltage and amperage, because these batteries are being such a high demand on them for the amount of stop starts that needs to be done every drive session. So anyways, the idea behind this is that that you don't ask the engine to stop and start over and over again. It could happen, in a day, it could happen like 100 times even, right? If you think about how much stop start traffic you are on, unless you're always on the highway. So yeah, whenever the engine stops, the fuel pump stops, the injectors stop, obviously, and the pistons stop, and then you ask it to start again. When you stop and start, there's going to be probably excess fuel, excess fuel that is injected, and then when you start again, it'll have that initial amount that it injects, and then it may cause some of the gas to condensate or go on and move past the cylinders, past the rings, into your gas, right? So if you are having some fuel dilution, you notice that your oil is going higher and higher, or maybe you just don't even notice. I think most people don't even check their oil, right? and that's probably why. Like, I mean, I haven't been checking my oil previously, and I just took it for granted that Honda is telling the truth about that fuel dilution issue being fixed, right? But it isn't. And it's not even only on these engines. It'll be on all GDI engines. With that design, with the injectors injecting fuel directly into the piston, into the combustion chamber, there's going to be a higher chance versus port fuel injection, right? So those are the two main things that we've been doing. And then the third thing is we've been starting to use two types of, I'm just gonna go grab it, two types of fuel injection cleaner additives. So the two that I would recommend is, just grab it. These two right here. Marble Mystery Oil and Sea Foam. So the reason why I have these two is because I've been doing some research, and these are the two that have been around for a long time, and seems to have a lot of good reviews. Reviews from both mechanics and other YouTubers, from forums. Seafoam, I mean, has been, like I said, been around for a long time. A lot of mechanics swear by it, and is very easily accessible. So these two are most of the Lordco's and auto parts stores, AutoZone, Amazon all have it. So these are the two that I'm testing, and these GDI engines, obviously you guys know of the issues that can have, especially with the intake side getting carbon deposits and caking of the carbon deposits on the both the injectors, and more importantly that the valves, right, intake valves. And I know that a lot of the mechanics will tell you that these fuel additives that you put into your fuel won't do anything, because the injectors inject directly into the combustion chamber versus port fuel injection, right? However, as you guys know, these engines have PCV valves, and they also have gas. What's the valve that puts your unburnt fuel and things back into the combustion chamber? So there's two things that for emissions, right? Gas recirculation, I can't remember, but I'll put it up in the comments later if I remember what it's called. But basically, the some of the unburnt fuel is recirculated back into the injectors, back into the combustion chamber, right? And that's where and it's put back into the air recirculation, not into the gas, right? So what happens is that recirculation of carbon deposits and unburnt fuel goes back into the engine via the air side of the valves, and it gets burnt on and caked on. So the idea is that the fuel never, hits the back of those valves. But at the same time, if you think that, your gas will actually have these additives in there, it'll recirculate and circulate into the air fuel mixture. So either way, it's just going to help, right? And these ones, I think you only put a little bit of this one into the gas. It says into the fuel, 120 milliliters, treat 40 liters. And so basically 120 liters is tiny amount. I think that's like 4 ounces, I believe. And this one, you only need 2 ounces as per the instructions into a full tank, which this tank is 40 liters. So I don't know how many gallons that is, but yeah, that's the idea. So it's very small amount, and that ensures that your injectors and things are lubricated and clean, right? So high octane gas should have a bunch of detergents and cleaners in it already, but you're adding this into it. So right now, I've run, because I haven't run this in the past, right? So I've run 2 full tanks of this one in the Civic, and 1 full tank of the Seafoam in the CRV, and then now I've changed it to Marvel Mystery Oil for the second tank. So I'm gonna, and it has been helping. The Civic's always been very quiet. Like, I don't hear any valve tick, but the CRV for sure has a bunch of valve tick. I'm not too sure why. It might be just the CRV being a lot more. It's a louder car. Believe it or not, the engine is, you can hear it a lot more. Maybe it's working a lot harder because it's a small engine in a large car, right? And so the idea is that both Marvel Mystery Oil and the Seafoam will be lubricity to fuel. So it basically lube upper cylinders, right? It's a lubricant. Both of these are actually lubricants for your upper end of your engine. And your upper end of the engine obviously includes your valves and lifters. And that ticking sound is usually lifters ticking. And so far it has helped a little bit. Certainly better for sure. So later on I'll make a video on that, maybe have the engine running, do a comparison and whatever. But yeah, so that's what I'm doing so far. I'm looking into oil treatments, things like Best Line and Motor Coat, maybe most likely Best Line. And yeah, so when I get that in, I'll do a video on that. But yeah, as a summary, auto stop start, turn that off. High octane gas, that's the second, and third will be using these fuel additives in order to help keep things clean on the upper end. And when the next time I change my oil, I'm going to be using either the Pennzoil Platinum, Ultra Full Synthetic, or I'll be going with the Costco Kirkland one. I have both of them anyways because stocked up on oil. And before that, I'm probably going to dump a bunch of this stuff into the engine to sort of flush it out. Run it for maybe a tank or two, so for maybe like 1,000 kilometers. I'll probably drain a little bit of the oil, add that in, clean it out, and then change the oil. Some actually say to run either Marvel Mystery Oil or the Seafoam into the crankcase for the whole duration of the oil change, which my intervals was 10,000 kilometers, but I'm going to drop it down to probably 5,000. Every 5,000 I'm going to be changing the oil. You can run this stuff in the crankcase, follow instructions. I think it actually says to use, replace up to 20% of the oil with Marvel mystery oil. So 20% of the, 3.73 liters. So whatever that is, 60 milliliters, no, yeah, it's more than that. So anyways, 20%, and you run that into the engine, and it basically will clean out the engine. And but I actually don't really want to run that much of this stuff. This stuff is, or run it for that long. You see that it's like very viscous. It's basically like water. Zero W20 is already really watery, so I really don't want to have the oil shear, right, and cause further premature wear on the piston rings and cylinders and the cams and whatnot, right? So yeah, anyways, that's sort of a longer introduction than I anticipated, but that's what I'm going to be doing so far. I'll continue to do these videos, and hopefully it helps someone in if they find out that they're getting the fuel dilution issue, and or the ticking, idling, rough idle, maybe lower fuel economy, whatever it may be. It's probably being caused by oil dilution, as well as dirty injectors and dirty valves. So yeah, I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you for listening.